Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another story time this week. I used to live up in northern Minnesota, and now I live down here in the driftless region of Minnesota and Wisconsin. But one of the things that I miss most about living up there is the sounds of the loon during the summer. So our loons migrate through the Winona and Trempealeau area, but they do not stay here over the summer. Loons need really, really deep water. They can dive down up to 200 feet deep to catch fish. So they need deep, deep lakes to live on. That's their favorite habitat. So they don't spend their summers or breed down here, but we might see them early in the spring or late in the fall as they pass through because they spend the winters down in the Gulf of Mexico. So sometimes we get a lucky sighting, but I spent many years listening to the sound of the loons every night. They sang me to sleep, so I'm very excited to hear some loons as I head up north. So this week for our story time, we're going to read Loon at Northwood Lake. It was written by Elizabeth Ring and illustrated by Taylor Otten. Okay. So let's get started. A gray April sky hangs over Northwood Lake and the log cottage near the lake's ice-crusted shore. Loon circles high. Below, all is quiet and the big bird glides down. He lands on the cold water and skids to a foamy stop. He hoots twice as if claiming the small North Country lake as his own. So he's returning to the north after a winter down south, and there might still be ice and snow around when our loons return. Loon has flown far from his winter home on the Atlantic Ocean. Hungry, he dives, spies a small perch, and snatches the fish crosswise in his long, pointed beak. He gulps it down whole, underwater. Rising to the surface, he stretches, waggling each webbed foot out behind him. Then he naps, floating. Though dozing, he hears the moose and raccoon rustling among the spruce trees on shore, and the tree frogs peeping. Loon is always on guard. Late the next day, Loon welcomes his mate. She too has flown far from her own winter home. She looks like Loon's twin sister with her black and white back, her ruby red eyes, and around her neck, a necklace of white patches and a collar of white stripes. The loons greet each other, rubbing heads, dipping and tossing their beaks. They're together again at their old summer home. Like two figure skaters, the pair swims side by side along the shore, seeking this year's nesting place. So loons have the same mate year after year, and that's true. The males do usually arrive before the females. This can be a really noisy time in the spring when you hear all the males claiming their territory, and they're also calling so that when their female partners arrive, they can find them on the lakes. They come to a small, quiet island far from the homes of hungry skunks and raccoons. The birds stumble onto the shore like big-footed clowns. Their feet are for swimming, not walking. They fling a nest together with beakfuls of grass, twigs, and water plants. It looks like a big, sloppy salad. In a few days, Loon's mate lays 2 olive brown eggs. For 4 weeks, Loon and his mate take turns sitting on the nest. They keep the eggs warm and shoo off egg-hunting eagles and hawks. Then, on a cool, breezy day in May, one loon chick hatches, and the next day another. Hut, hut, clucks Loon, coaxing each loonling into the lake. Born swimmers, the waterproofed chicks bob on the water like fuzzy ping-pong balls. Their parents lead them to an island cove to feed. Cheep, cheep, the chicks beg. Loon and his mate poke insects and bits of fish and crayfish toward their small beaks. So both loon parents are caring for the baby chicks. Uh-oh. Stuffed, the chicks paddle contentedly on the shadowy water, unaware that a huge, hungry fish lurks below. But both Loon and his mate spy the ferocious Pike. Loon's mate screeches a warning. Loon dives, his dagger beak aimed at the pike. His powerful legs and big feet churn as he zooms underwater, driving the pike far away. So fish are sometimes predators of baby loons. When Loon pops up for air, he hears his mate's call. "Ah-ooh-ah!" she wails. He races to her side. A loonling is missing. The parents dart here and there, keeping the safe chick in sight. They circle and dive. The lost chick is not on the water, not on shore, not caught in the weeds below. So there they are, frantically looking. Oopsies. Then, from down shore, comes a faint cheep, cheep, cheep. Loon stays by the safe chick as his mate dashes towards the wee sound. It's the lost loonling, peeking out from the reeds. All four together again. Loon's mate lowers herself in the water. The cold and tired chicks scramble on her back for a warm, safe, feathery boat ride. So maybe if you're really lucky, you've seen this, the loon chicks riding on the back of one of their parents. It's pretty cute. One puffy cloud June afternoon, shouts and laughter ring out from the summer cottage on Northwood Lake's shore. Loon has heard those cottage sounds before, but today something is new. Something that looks like a gigantic fish. It glides out from the dock and moves steadily towards the loon's feeding place. Too close! Too close! Loon screams a shrill warning. Flapping his wings, he stands straight up on the water and slaps his feet furiously. The canoe turns and slips away. Loon hears low, gentle voices. After that, the canoe never comes too near. So it's important when we're out exploring nature to give the animals the space that they need. As steamy August crawls by, Loon watches his chicks struggle to fly. Splash, flap, their wings grow stronger each day. One day, pat, pat, swoosh, up go the young birds on their own at last. Loon's guardian work is done. So you'll notice here that the parent loons look a lot different than the juvenile or the kid loons. Each loon now wanders the lake alone. Many nights, though, when light spills from the cottage windows, they call to each other. "Ah-ooh-ah!" Loon wails. Loon's mate calls back. The young loons chime in. "Hoo-ha! Ah-ooh-ah!" Sometimes loons from the other side of the lake join the chorus until the hills echo with the wails, yodels, and loony laughter. Soft woos and ahs come from the cottage porch, too. The concerts go on into the fall. Late in frosty, gold-leafed October, Loon starts changing his black and white feather for his gray winter coat. He's restless. It's time to head back to his winter home in the Atlantic. Early one cold, windy morning, he skitters, pat, 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 on the water, splashing his feet and beating his wings. He finally gets up enough speed and lifts off, wings flapping hard into the gray, cloudy sky. So now we can see adult Loon is starting to lose his bright, beautiful colors too, and he's turning more gray like the young loons. So a lot of birds have their summer breeding plumage that helps them attract mates, and then they have kind of a more dull, for lack of a better word, sorry birds, winter colors. Loon circles the lake twice, climbing higher and higher. He takes one last look at his summer home. Below, his mate and young ones feed by themselves. They'll soon leave the lake too, when each is ready. Before long, ice will coat Northwood Lake. A stillness will fall on the lake and log cottage until the spring sun brings back the loons and the laughter next year. The end. So, it is now getting towards the end of August, but our loons are still on the lakes up north. They still should be calling. We might see those bigger gray baby loons still hanging out with their parents, but I'm hoping that I get a good listen for them this week while I'm up north. I will post a few loon activities for you down below. So I hope you enjoy those throughout the week, and I will see you next Wednesday for another story time. Have a great week. Bye.